The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent as Ambassador Daniel Harper walked toward the central platform. His footsteps echoed against the marble floor, and he could feel the eyes of 47 different species watching him. Some looked bored, others looked annoyed. A few, like the Velith representatives, wore expressions of barely hidden contempt. Daniel was 58 years old. He had spent 30 years of his life in this hall, fighting for humanity's place among the stars. 30 years of asking, begging, and negotiating. 30 years of being told to wait, to be patient, to understand that these things take time. He was tired of waiting. The United Earth Republic formally submits its petition for full voting membership in the Galactic Council, Daniel said, his voice steady despite the anger building in his chest. This is our 89th such petition. High Arbiter Melax, the ancient Tholian who led the council, shifted in his elevated seat. His gray skin seemed even more wrinkled than usual, and his 4 eyes blinked slowly as he considered the request he had heard so many times before. The council acknowledges Earth's petition, Melax said in his tired, rasping voice. We will take the matter under consideration. With respect, High Arbiter, Daniel replied. You have been taking this matter under consideration for 300 years. Humanity has been a member of this council since we first achieved faster-than-light travel. We have contributed our technology, our resources, and our soldiers to every major initiative. We have died defending worlds that were not our own. And still, we are denied the right to vote on matters that affect our own people. A hissing laugh came from the Velith section. Councillor Verath Sorn, a tall reptilian with dark green scales and golden eyes, rose from his seat. He was known throughout the galaxy for his hatred of humans, though he always claimed it was merely honest assessment. Perhaps, Verath said, his forked tongue flicking between his words, the humans should be grateful for what they have been given. 3 centuries ago, your species was still burning fossil fuels and fighting wars over patches of dirt. We lifted you up. We taught you. And now you demand equality? He laughed again. You are the galaxy's useful servants. Nothing more. Several other counselors joined in the laughter. Daniel stood perfectly still, his hands clasped behind his back. He had heard worse. He had always heard worse. Is that the council's official position? Daniel asked quietly. High Arbiter Melax raised a hand for silence. Councillor Sorn speaks only for himself. However, the council has determined that humanity has not yet demonstrated the maturity required for full membership. Your petition is denied. You may submit again next cycle. Daniel nodded slowly. He had expected this. He had prepared for this. Very well, he said. Then I have nothing further to discuss. He turned and walked back to his seat, where his aide, a young woman named Patricia Dunn, was waiting with a tablet in her hands. Her face was pale. Sir, she whispered, we just received word from Earth. New Virginia has been attacked. Daniel's blood went cold. New Virginia was a colony world on the edge of human space. Home to 3 million people. By whom? Kreth raiders. They hit the orbital stations first, then began bombardment of the surface. The death toll is already in the thousands. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. The Kreth hegemony was a collection of brutal species that survived through raiding and slavery. They had been a problem for decades, but the Council had always found reasons to avoid dealing with them directly. He stood again and walked back to the central platform. High Arbiter, I request emergency assistance. The human colony of New Virginia is under attack by Kreth forces. We need Council intervention immediately. Melax conferred briefly with his advisors. The Council will form a committee to investigate the matter. A decision will be made within how long? Daniel interrupted. A month? A year? My people are dying right now. These matters require careful consideration, Melix replied. The motion is tabled until further notice. Daniel stared at the High Arbiter for a long moment. He looked at the rows of counselors, at the species humanity had served and protected and helped for 3 centuries. He saw boredom. He saw indifference. He saw Varath Sorn smiling. I need to contact my government, Daniel said. I request a recess. The recess was granted. Daniel walked to his private quarters in the human embassy section of the Sarah Prime and sealed the door behind him. He activated the secure communication channel and waited as the connection established across thousands of light years. Secretary General Maria Vasquez appeared on the screen. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and dark eyes that had seen too much. Behind her, Daniel could see the emergency council chamber on Earth, filled with military officers and government officials. Daniel, she said, we've been watching. We saw what happened. New Virginia? He asked. The attack is ongoing. Our fleet is responding, but we're on our own. The council won't help. She paused. We've made a decision, Daniel. The Parliament voted 3 hours ago. It was unanimous. Daniel felt something shift in his chest. What decision? Maria told him. The next morning, Daniel Harper walked into the council chamber one last time. He did not go to his usual seat. Instead, he walked directly to the central platform and stood facing the assembled representatives of 47 species. The hall fell silent. I have a statement to deliver on behalf of the United Earth Republic, Daniel said. His voice was calm, almost gentle. It will be brief. High Arbiter Melax leaned forward. The Council recognizes Ambassador Harper. Daniel took a breath. The United Earth Republic hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. All treaties, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts are considered void. Our borders are now closed. Our communications channels are now silent. He paused, looking around the room one final time. Do not contact us. He turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, chaos erupted. Counselors shouted questions and demands. Some called for him to stop, to explain, to negotiate. Daniel kept walking. Within 1 hour, every human diplomat, every human worker, every human ship had departed the Sarah Prime. The human embassy stood empty, its doors sealed, its lights dark. The galaxy had spent 300 years treating humanity like servants. Now they would learn what it meant to be alone. 6 months passed, and the galaxy began to understand what it had lost. At first, the Council dismissed humanity's withdrawal as a political stunt. They will return within weeks, Councillor Varath Sorn declared confidently. Humans are emotional creatures. They need us more than we need them. Many agreed. After all, humanity was a young species, barely 3 centuries into their space age. What could they possibly accomplish alone? But the weeks became months, and the silence from human space grew louder with each passing day. The first problems appeared in the trade routes. Human freighters had carried nearly 30% of all goods moving through Council space. They were reliable, efficient, and cheap. When those ships stopped coming, cargo began piling up at stations across the galaxy. Prices rose, shortages spread. Then the relay stations went dark. Humanity had built the most advanced communication network in known space. Their relay stations allowed instant communication across thousands of light years. The Council had come to depend on this network without ever realizing how deeply. When the humans shut it down, entire sectors lost contact with each other. Messages that once took seconds now took weeks to deliver through older, slower systems. Counselor Verath Sorn stopped making jokes about humans returning. His people, the Veleth, had relied heavily on human medical technology. Their hospitals used human-designed equipment. Their doctors used human-developed treatments. Now those supplies were running out, and the Veleth did not know how to make more. Quietly, without telling the rest of the council, Verath sent a private message to the human border requesting a meeting to discuss matters of mutual concern. He received no response. The Tholian merchant captain Kelleth Vorn was the first to try crossing into human space. His ship was old and unarmed, carrying nothing but trade goods and hope. He had dealt with humans for 40 years and considered many of them friends. Surely, he thought, they would speak with him. His ship was stopped at the border by something he had never seen before. An automated defense platform of massive size, bristling with weapons that his sensors could not identify. A machine voice spoke to him in perfect Tholian. "Human space is closed. State your business." "I am a merchant," Kelleth replied, trying to keep his voice calm. "I wish to trade, as I have done for decades. I have friends on Earth. I only want to talk." "Human space is closed," the machine repeated. "Leave immediately." "Please, leave immediately. This warning will not be repeated." Kelleth turned his ship around and fled. When he reported his experience to the council, the chamber fell silent. Automated defenses of that size and power were beyond anything they had seen from humanity before. How long had the humans been building such things? What else had they been hiding? High Arbiter Melax called for a diplomatic mission. Ambassador Kelleth Vorn of the Scytheran Collective was chosen to lead it. The Scytherans were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful mediators, and Kelleth was the most respected diplomat among them. If anyone could reach the humans, it would be him. Kelleth's ship was allowed to approach Earth, but held at the edge of the solar system. For 11 days, he waited, sending message after message requesting permission to speak with any human authority. He received only silence. On the 12th day, a single human vessel approached. It was small, unarmed, clearly a courier ship. A young human officer appeared on screen, her face expressionless. "Ambassador," she said, "you have been very patient. The United Earth Republic appreciates your peaceful approach." "Thank you," Kelleth replied with relief. "I am here to open dialogue, to understand humanity's concerns, to find a path forward." "There is no path forward," the officer interrupted. "We have nothing to discuss with the Galactic Council. Return to your masters and tell them this. Human space is closed. We do not require your assistance. We do not desire your friendship. We remember how we were treated, and we have made our choice. Surely there must be something we can— Leave now, Ambassador. Do not return." The connection ended. Kelleth stared at the blank screen for a long time. In all his years of diplomacy, he had never felt so completely shut out. There had been no anger in the human's voice, no emotion at all, just cold, absolute certainty. He returned to the council with his report, and fear began to spread. Intelligence agents from various species tried to gather information about what was happening inside human space. Most simply disappeared. The few who returned brought strange reports, massive construction projects on every human world, military production unlike anything seen before, a population that seemed unified and purposeful in a way that was almost frightening. One agent, a Melloran spy who had managed to observe a human colony from a hidden position, sent a final transmission before going silent. "They are not collapsing. They are not suffering. They are building. I have never seen so many ships. I have never seen such weapons. They are preparing for something, and I am afraid. High Arbiter Melax called an emergency session of the Council. For the first time in its long history, the governing body of the galaxy was not discussing what humanity had done wrong or how to manage humanity's requests. They were discussing what humanity might do next. "We must consider the possibility," Melax said slowly, his ancient voice heavy with worry, "that we have made a terrible mistake. We treated humanity as children, as servants, as lesser beings. We ignored their contributions and mocked their requests for equality." He paused, looking around the chamber at the silent counselors. "And now they are silent, and we are afraid." Vareth Sorn said nothing. His scales had grown pale, and his golden eyes stared at the floor. He was thinking about all the times he had laughed at humans, all the times he had called them servants. He was beginning to understand that words have consequences. The galaxy waited in the darkness, and the silence from human space grew heavier with each passing day. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal, the Kreth hegemony attacked. The Kreth were brutal creatures who lived for war and slavery. For decades, they had raided the edges of Council space, taking what they wanted and leaving destruction behind. The Council had always responded weakly, forming committees and sending strongly worded messages. The Kreth had learned that the Council was afraid of real conflict. Now, with humanity gone, the Kreth saw opportunity. Their fleet struck the Melaran, homeworld first. 800 warships dropped out of hyperspace and immediately began destroying the orbital defense stations. The Melarans sent desperate calls for help to every Council species, but the response was slow and confused. Without humanity's communication network, coordination was nearly impossible. Without humanity's strategic planners, no one knew how to organize a proper defense. The Melaran orbital defenses fell in 6 hours. The Kreth began bombardment of the surface, targeting cities and military bases alike. Millions died in the first day. High Arbiter Melax watched the destruction from the Council chamber, his ancient heart breaking. He had led this galaxy for over 2 centuries, and he had never felt so helpless. The combined fleets of the Council were scattered across dozens of systems, unable to coordinate, unable to respond in time. In desperation, he made a decision that many counselors called foolish and others called cowardly. He took his personal ship, alone and unarmed, and flew to the border of human space. For 3 days, he sat at the edge of the darkness, broadcasting on every frequency. "This is High Arbiter Melax of the Galactic Council. I come alone. I come in peace. I beg humanity to hear me." He spoke of the attack, of the millions dying, of the Council's failure to respond. He admitted things he had never admitted before. "We were wrong," he said, his voice cracking with age and emotion. "We treated you as lesser beings when you deserved respect. We ignored your pleas for help when you needed us. We mocked you when we should have listened. I cannot undo these wrongs. I can only beg you in the name of all the innocent lives being lost to help us stop the Kreth." Silence was his only answer. For 3 days, Melax sat in his ship, an old Tholian alone in the void, waiting for a response that might never come. On the 4th day, a ship appeared. It was small, a diplomatic courier, similar to the one that had turned away Ambassador Kelleth Vorn a year ago. But the man who appeared on Melax's screen was not a junior officer. He wore the uniform of a commander in the United Earth Navy, and his eyes were hard as stone. "High Arbiter," the man said, "I am Commander Nathan Cole. The United Earth Republic has received your message." Melax felt hope spark in his chest. "Then you will help us? You will stop the Kreth?" Commander Cole's expression did not change. "Humanity will handle the Kreth. This is not being done for the Council. It is being done because the Kreth attacked our colony of New Virginia 1 year ago. and we do not forget such things." He paused. "Stay out of our way. Do not interfere. This matter is no longer your concern." "I understand," Melax said quickly. "We are grateful for any—" But the screen had already gone dark. Commander Cole's ship turned and vanished into human space. Melax returned to the council chamber where the remaining councilors waited for news. He told them what had happened, and a fragile hope began to spread. Human ships were coming. Human warriors were coming. Perhaps the galaxy would be saved after all. They were not prepared for what they saw. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace near the Melaran homeworld like a wave of steel and fire. But these were not the ships the Council remembered. The old human vessels had been practical, functional, unremarkable. These new ships were something else entirely. They were massive, bristling with weapons that Council sensors could not identify. Their hulls were dark and angular, designed for war in ways that made military experts across the galaxy stare in disbelief. And there were so many of them. Over 2,000 warships filled the space around the Melaran system. The largest vessel, a dreadnought that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built, transmitted a single message on all frequencies. "This is Fleet Admiral Sandra Blake of the United Earth Navy. Kreth vessels, you have one opportunity to surrender. You will not receive another." The Kreth overlord, a massive creature named Krethvan, laughed at the message. His 800 ships had been crushing Council resistance for weeks. What were 2,000 vessels against warriors like the Kreth? "Humans," he growled to his bridge crew, "always talking. Let us show them what war really looks like." The Kreth fleet advanced. The battle lasted 4 hours. It was not a fight. It was an execution. Human weapons tore through Kreth shields like they were made of paper. Human ships moved with coordination and precision that seemed almost supernatural. The Kreth tried to retreat, to scatter, to flee, but the humans had planned for everything. Escape routes were blocked, communications were jammed. One by one, the Kreth vessels were hunted down and destroyed. When the last Kreth warship exploded, Admiral Blake's voice echoed across every channel in the system. "The Kreth hegemony offensive fleet has been eliminated. Human casualties, 7 vessels damaged, none destroyed. All Kreth survivors will be taken into custody." The Council watched in stunned silence. They had expected humanity to help. They had not expected this. 7 ships damaged against 800 enemies, destroyed. Technology that made their own weapons look like children's toys. A fleet that had appeared from nowhere, built in secret during a single year of silence. 1 week later, Commander Cole appeared on the Council's main screen with a final message. His voice was as cold as it had been the first time Melax heard it. "The Kreth hegemony no longer exists. Their homeworlds have surrendered unconditionally to the United Earth Republic. Their slaves have been freed. Their leaders will face justice." He paused, and something flickered in his eyes. Not warmth, but perhaps a distant satisfaction. "This matter is concluded. Do not contact us." The screen went dark. The Council sat in their chamber, surrounded by the evidence of humanity's power, and finally understood the truth. They had not been protecting humanity for 300 years. Humanity had been protecting them, and now humanity was done. Fear is a strange thing. It can hide in the shadows for years, waiting for the right moment to strike, and when it finally arrives, it consumes everything. In the months following the destruction of the Kreth hegemony, fear spread through the Galactic Council like a plague. Every species, every world, every leader began asking the same questions. What else can humanity do? What will they do next? And most terrifying of all, what have we done to deserve their anger? Emergency sessions of the council became daily events. Councilors who had once spent their time debating trade regulations and border disputes now argued about one thing only: how to survive in a galaxy where humanity held all the power. The numbers were terrifying. Intelligence reports suggested that humanity's fleet now exceeded 3,000 vessels, with more being built every day. Their weapons were generations ahead of anything the Council possessed. Their soldiers were trained and equipped in ways that made professional military analysts weep with frustration. And their economy, which the Council had assumed would collapse without galactic trade, was actually growing stronger. "How is this possible?" demanded Councillor Kith of the Tellurian Unity during one heated session. "They were isolated. They had no resources, no trade, no support." "They had themselves," High Arbiter Melax replied quietly. "We always underestimated human determination. We assumed they needed us. We were wrong." The Velith Dominion was suffering more than most. Councillor Vareth Sorn, once the loudest voice mocking humanity, had grown silent and pale. His species depended on human technology that they could no longer obtain. Medical facilities were failing. Factories were shutting down. His people were beginning to die from conditions that had been easily treatable just 2 years ago. In desperation, Vareth attempted something that no one had successfully done since humanity's withdrawal: direct negotiation. He sent his finest diplomat to the human border with gifts, apologies, and promises of eternal friendship. The diplomat carried a personal message from Varath, admitting his past insults and begging for forgiveness. The diplomat returned 3 days later, carrying a single sheet of paper. On it were written 3 words: "We remember everything." Varath read those words in his private chambers, alone, except for the shadows. He thought about all the times he had called humans servants. He thought about the laughter, the mockery, the casual cruelty of centuries. And he understood, finally, that some wounds do not heal. They found his body the next morning. He had taken his own life. His final message, addressed to the council, contained only one sentence: "I brought this upon us all." The death of Varath Sorn sent shockwaves through the galaxy. If one of the most powerful counselors could be destroyed so completely by nothing more than human silence, what hope did anyone else have? Some species tried to position themselves for what they assumed was coming. The Tellurian Unity, led by the aggressive Councillor Kith, proposed a preemptive strike against humanity. "We must act now while we still can," Kith argued. "Every day they grow stronger. Every day we grow weaker. If we combine our fleets, we might—" "Might what?" interrupted a Scytheran representative. "Might die gloriously. You saw what they did to the Kreth. 800 ships destroyed in 4 hours. How many do you think we could bring against them? 5,000? 10,000? It would not matter." The debate raged for days, but it ended when intelligence revealed something that turned fear into terror. Humanity had been monitoring them the entire time. Every communication, every secret meeting, every whispered conversation in supposedly secure chambers, the humans knew it all. They had placed listening devices throughout Council space without anyone noticing. They knew about Kith's proposed attack before he had even finished making his speech. The Tellurian Unity withdrew the proposal immediately. Kith resigned from the council and was not seen in public again. Meanwhile, strange rumors began spreading from the former Kreth territories. Humanity was not simply occupying those worlds. They were transforming them. The species that had been enslaved by the Kreth were being offered something unprecedented: full citizenship in the United Earth Republic. Governor Lisa Patterson, a human woman assigned to oversee the integration, gave interviews that were secretly recorded and shared throughout the galaxy. "Everyone deserves dignity," she said in one such recording. "These people were slaves. They were treated as property, as animals. We are giving them a choice. Join us as equals, or go your own way with our blessing and support. There are no conditions. There are no demands. Only opportunity." The former slaves were choosing to stay. Within months, the human territories had grown to include a dozen new species, all working together, all treated as partners rather than subjects. Trade was booming. Technology was advancing. And the contrast with the struggling council could not have been more obvious. High Arbiter Melax, aged and exhausted from the constant crisis, made one final attempt to reach humanity. He recorded a personal message and sent it directly to Secretary General Maria Vasquez, bypassing all official channels. "Please," he said in the recording, his voice barely a whisper, "tell us what you want. Tell us how to make this right. We were wrong, terribly wrong, and we know it now. But there must be a way forward. There must be something we can do." He waited for 3 weeks. Finally, a response arrived, but not from Vasquez. The face that appeared on his screen was younger, harder, belonging to a man he had never seen before. "High Arbiter," the man said, "I am Benjamin Shaw, President of the United Earth Republic. Maria Vasquez has retired. I speak for humanity now." Melax leaned forward, hope flickering in his ancient eyes. "President Shaw, thank you for responding. I know we have much to discuss, much to—" "We have nothing to discuss," Shaw interrupted. "Not yet. You asked what we want. You asked how to make things right." He paused, and something cold moved behind his eyes. "You will know when we are ready." The screen went dark. Melax sat alone in the silence, and for the first time in his 200 years of leadership, he felt truly old. He had spent his life building bridges between species, finding common ground, maintaining peace. But there was no bridge he could build to reach humanity now. They were out there, in the darkness, growing stronger every day. And when they finally decided what they wanted, the galaxy would have no choice but to listen. The fear had become permanent. The Council could only wait. 2 years after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, every screen on every inhabited world in the galaxy flickered to life simultaneously. No one had known this was possible. The technology required to broadcast across such distances, to reach every device regardless of species or system, was beyond anything the Council had ever developed. But humanity had developed it, and now they were using it. President Benjamin Shaw appeared on every screen, standing in a room of pure white, wearing simple civilian clothes rather than any symbol of office. His face was calm, almost peaceful. When he spoke, translation systems across the galaxy rendered his words perfectly in every language. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began, "for 2 years, humanity has been silent. We withdrew from your council because we were tired of being treated as servants, tired of begging for respect, tired of watching our people die while the powerful debated whether we deserved help." He paused, letting the words settle. "Many of you expected us to return, broken and humble, begging for forgiveness. Others expected us to attack, to conquer, to become the very thing we had always fought against. You were wrong on both counts." Shaw smiled slightly. "We are not here to beg, and we are not here to conquer. We are here to offer you a choice." Behind him, the white room transformed into a display of stars. Points of light began appearing, first dozens, then hundreds. During our silence, we were not hiding. We were building, not just ships and weapons, But something far more important, a new alliance. The Terran Compact now includes 23 species who have chosen to work with humanity based on mutual respect and equal partnership. The names appeared on screen as Shaw spoke them. The Kreth survivors who had chosen redemption, the former slaves who had found freedom, the smaller species who had been ignored by the Council for centuries. Each one had joined humanity, not through conquest, but through choice. These species came to us not because we are powerful, but because we treated them with dignity. We did not demand their loyalty. We earned it. Shaw's expression hardened slightly. Now, I must show you something the Council has hidden for centuries. Documents began appearing on screen. Communications, agreements, financial records, all bearing official Council seals. These are the secrets your leaders have kept from you. Evidence of systematic manipulation of trade to benefit certain species at the expense of others. Secret agreements to suppress technological development among younger civilizations. And most damning of all, a formal policy approved 250 years ago to permanently deny humanity voting rights regardless of our contributions. The document scrolled past, page after page of proof. You were told that humanity was not mature enough for equality. The truth is that some on your council feared what we might become if given the chance to grow. They deliberately held us back. They mocked us. They let our people die when help could have been given. Shaw's voice remained steady, but something burned behind his eyes. This is not accusation. This is documented fact. The display faded, and Shaw stood alone again against the white background. So what do we want? What is our demand? He spread his hands. We want you to have a choice. A real choice. For the first time in your history. The Galactic Council as it exists is corrupt beyond repair. It serves the powerful and ignores the weak. It has failed you just as it failed us. We could destroy it by force. We have the power. But that is not who we are. He stepped forward, closer to the camera. Instead, we offer this. The Terran Compact welcomes any species that wishes to join us. Come as equals, vote as equals, build with us a new civilization based on respect and cooperation. There are no conditions, there are no demands, only opportunity. To the current Council, we offer the same choice. Dissolve your corrupt structure and join us as partners, or continue alone in a galaxy that no longer needs you. We will not attack you. We will not blockade you. We will simply move forward without you, as we have for the past 2 years. Shaw took a breath. High Arbiter Melax asked us what we wanted. He asked how to make things right. This is our answer. Choose differently. Choose better. Choose to treat every species with the dignity they deserve, regardless of their age or power or usefulness. You have 1 year to decide. We will contact you then. The screens went dark across the galaxy, and the Council fell into chaos. The following 12 months saw more change than the previous 1,000 years. Species that had been loyal Council members for centuries quietly applied to join the Terran Compact. The promises of equal treatment, of fair representation, of genuine partnership proved irresistible to those who had always felt overlooked. The Velith Dominion, leaderless after Vareth Sorn's death, collapsed into civil war. Some factions wanted to fight humanity to the bitter end. Others wanted to surrender completely. In the end, most Velith citizens simply fled to compact territories, where they were received not with punishment, but with the same offer given to everyone else. Join us as equals, and we will help you build a new life. The Tholians. The ancient species who had led the Council for millennia sent their most respected elder to meet with President Shaw. The meeting was private, but the result was announced publicly. The Tholian people would apply for compact membership. High Arbiter Melax, too old and tired to continue, supported the decision. 1 year after Shaw's broadcast, the Galactic Council held its final session. Only 11 species remained in the chamber: the bitter, the fearful, and those who simply could not accept change. High Arbiter Melax, attending despite his failing health, rose to speak one last time. "For over 2,000 years," he said slowly, "this council has governed the galaxy. We believed we were wise. We believed we were just. We were wrong." He looked around the nearly empty chamber. "I hereby dissolve the Galactic Council and accept the terms of the Terran Compact on behalf of all species who wish to join." The signing ceremony took place on Earth, in a great hall built specifically for the occasion. Representatives from over 60 species gathered to witness the birth of a new civilization. President Shaw signed first, then stepped aside to let others add their names. Ambassador Daniel Harper, now an elder statesman of the Compact, watched from the audience. A reporter approached him afterward, asking how he felt. "I should feel vindicated," Daniel said quietly. "We won. We proved them all wrong." He shook his head. "But mostly I feel sad. It didn't have to be this way. 300 years of suffering, of begging, of being treated like servants, all because they couldn't bring themselves to treat us with basic respect. If they had just said yes to that first petition, if they had just seen us as equals from the beginning, imagine what we could have built together." He looked out at the crowd, at the dozens of species learning to work together, at the children playing without regard for the color of each other's skin or scales. "At least we got it right in the end," he said. "At least we're building something better now." The final scene of that historic day was broadcast across the galaxy, a classroom on a former Velith world, now part of the Compact. A human teacher stood before a group of children from 6 different species, including 3 young Velith whose parents had fled the Civil War. Together, the children recited the first article of the Terran Compact Charter, their voices mixing in the warm afternoon air. "All species are equal. All voices matter. None shall be silenced." The galaxy had changed. The old order had fallen. And humanity, the species that had once been called servants, had taught the stars what dignity really meant. Not through conquest, through example.